With people coming out of the camps, there's been stories that have surfaced that ex-cadres, especially women cadres that are coming out of camps, are not being able to, are not being integrated back into society, and some have rejected them from society. Do you have any insight into that?
This rehabilitation process of the ex-cadres is two-faced. One is the work that they have been doing with them in the rehabilitation camps. Now, although their detention in those camps were illegal, there was not formal detention orders or anything like that, yet the program of work that was implemented in those rehabilitation camps was exemplary. So I have spoken about that in Parliament, commended the Commissioner General of Rehabilitation for the work he has been doing, without taking anything away from the fact that that was illegal detention. Nevertheless, the components of the rehabilitation program were very good. But then, beyond that, when they are supposedly reintegrated into society, we have also heard of lots of mishaps, so to say, in problems arising due to previous tensions surfacing and so on. But a lot of these people who have been released from the rehabilitation camps and been sent back to their villages want to get out of the country. So their stay, they think, is very temporary, because they don't want to stay there and later be picked up again. There are instances where a number of them have been rearrested. So that's a concern that needs to be looked at fairly carefully. And if the rehabilitation process is to end properly or to succeed, then we need to be involved in that process a little more.
And, in recent times, the international community has been fairly vocal about it, not being satisfied with what the Sri Lankan government has been doing, and Canada included. Looking back, there's UN reports, there's documentaries by Channel 4, Human Rights Watch, Amnesty International, and the likes that have indicated that gross human rights violations occurred in the last phases of the war, and that up to 40,000 people may have been killed. In regards to war crimes, where does TNA see this going? What would it like to do, and what's on the agenda for TNA around war crimes?
When the report of the expert panel appointed by the UN Secretary General came out on the 31st of March this year, we were the only political party in Sri Lanka that welcomed it. We welcomed the report, and we explained that many of the matters that they have described as credible allegations were in fact spoken by ourselves contemporaneously in Parliament as and when they happened. So it was not something new. We know that those things were actually true. And we welcomed the recommendations, which included various accountability processes, including proper investigation, and our stand has not changed with regard to that.
Okay. And in regards to diaspora, what do you think the diaspora's contribution has been in the past, and what role do you think the diaspora should take moving forward?
The diaspora has a very constructive role to play in the future well-being of our people in Sri Lanka, because of the numerical strength, and also due to the commitment that the people in the diaspora have been demonstrating. Some years ago, there was a religious dignitary who came from Rwanda to Sri Lanka. And after the terrible things that happened in Rwanda, he had a message that he gave to the Sinhalese people. And he said, well, if you want to live peacefully in your own country, you better treat your brothers, the Tamils, as equals. Because if you don't do that, their brothers who have gone abroad will make sure that you never live in peace here. So I thought that was very good advice that was given.
And with the diaspora, especially the second generation, does TNA see any plans, or does TNA have any plans to get the second generation of Tamils more engaged or keeping them engaged for years to come?
The TNA has a vision to engage our youth in Sri Lanka and harness their energies, mobilize them into a very responsible, into a non-violent movement to win back the rights of the Tamil people there. Now, in that effort, we do look towards the diaspora second generation also to contribute what they can, particularly in the areas of various expertise that they have. And if the second generation Tamil diaspora, many people can come and live in Sri Lanka for certain periods of time even, we can organize certain programs through which they can empower the youth in Sri Lanka so that we become a vibrant, responsible and a force to reckon with in terms of our people's political rights.
Okay. And some people are scared about that, right? So there are a lot of people, young and older, that are scared to come back to Sri Lanka because they've been vocal in speaking against the Sri Lankan government. Do you think there is validity in being fearful in returning to Sri Lanka?
Yes, there may be justifiable fears there. Each one must decide that for himself or herself, because they must decide that in the background of their previous involvement here in these matters. But if all were to actually be scared and not be ready to do this, then we will fail. So that is again a test of their own commitment. Of course, they need not be foolish; they must act wisely, and it may be very different to each person.
Okay, and when it especially in recent time, there's been more organizations among the youth where they've been encouraging dialogue between Sinhalese people and Tamil people. So there's been organizations here that have brought together young Sinhalese and young Tamils and have created dialogue. And what do you think about that? And
I would very strongly support that kind of move, because that's a kind of thing that we are trying to do in Sri Lanka as well, even as a political party. One of the great weaknesses of the Tamil political parties in the past has been that we never spoke to the Sinhala polity directly. My sense is that if we had done that, we would have had lots of Sinhalese on our side. But as it is, what happened was that it was their leaders who told them what the Tamil leaders stood for, and it was not always accurate. So we are now trying to create a situation in which we talk to the Sinhala polity directly and try and convince them that we are not asking for anything outrageous. What we are asking for is just and reasonable, and which is something that you find in most parts of the world, and that they must also support that cause if they believe in justice and equality and all of those principles. So I think it's a very good move to have that kind of dialogue, because we believe that our demand for political autonomy is based on truth and justice and reasonableness.
And, so what do you hope to see happen in the next year, the next 5 years, the next 10 years? What's the vision of TNA? And
well, the vision of the TNA is to become a potent political force that will have the confidence of our people, that will function in a very responsible manner, and take forward this 60-year-old struggle to a point where we win back the rights of our people in terms of political autonomy, a degree of self-rule in our areas.
Okay. Thank you so much for your time, taking the time out of your busy schedule, Sir MP Sumanthiran. Thank you so much.
Thank you.